Hallo Studentin, when you see German nouns, do you instantly know the gender? Do you know whether it's a masculine, feminine, or neuter noun? Whether that noun needs a der, die, or das in front of it? When I see these nouns here, I know that Frühling, Pilot, Teppich, and Honig are all masculine nouns. I know that Fohlen and Teppichchen are neuter nouns, and that Piloten and Mangelhaftigkeit are feminine nouns. But here's the thing, I'm not a native speaker. I had to learn German as a foreign language just like you're doing right now. Popular apps and software programs will say, oh, just memorize a random der, die, das in front of thousands of German nouns, right? And to that I say, good luck. I didn't take that conventional advice, and you don't need to either. In this video, you will discover a tactical approach for learning German noun gender that removes the guesswork from the equation and helps you leverage your advantages as an adult learner of German. There's a lot of messaging out there these days that says that we should be learning languages like children do, right? With the instant immersion approach and just exposing yourself to tons of authentic German so that you just pick it up as you go along. And while that is true, that is how children learn, and it will surely work for an adult eventually as well. As an adult, you have analytical capabilities, right, that children do not have. And if you use this to your advantage, you can learn German faster than children learn their native languages, right? It takes us years to master understanding, speaking, reading, and writing our native languages. And so unless you have all the time in the world for learning German, you need to change your perspective. You need to change your approach, okay? So we're going to talk about how German nouns largely fall into two categories. You can learn the gender of them based on the group that they belong to or the ending that they have. And after we talk about this, then we're going to get into specific tips for how you can then internalize this information so that it's available to you at the snap of a finger, just like for a native speaker. There are lots of noun groups worth knowing, but there is one that is more important than the rest because it is the only time that German noun gender is intuitive, okay? So it does not usually work to think, oh, such and such noun is a really girly thing, so that must be a feminine noun and needs a D. And such thing is a really manly thing, so it must be a masculine noun and needs a der. That's not how German noun gender works, except with the one and only intuitive noun group, which is for male, female, and young persons and domesticated animals. So here in our examples, we have Pilot, which means pilot, okay? And it is der Pilot precisely because we're referring to a male person. Then over here we have die Pilotin, which is now a female pilot, and it's going to be die Pilotin precisely because we are referring to a female person. Then here, Fohlen, this is a foal, as in a baby horse, and because it is a young horse, it's going to be das. It's going to be neuter. It has not yet grown up to be an adult male or an adult female horse, and so therefore it is neuter until that point, okay? So the one and only intuitive noun group for male, female, and young persons and domesticated animals. But this other categorization of noun endings that we can use for learning noun gender is even more powerful. It's going to apply to even more nouns. So here, for example, this ling and ich and ish on these three masculine nouns, that clues me into immediately that these are masculine nouns, that they need to have a der, that it's der Frühling, der Teppich, der Honig. This Hyen on Teppichchen tells me that it's going to be das Teppichchen because Hyen is a neuter noun ending. And then so likewise, the in on Piloten, that's how I knew it was a female pilot, okay? And this keit on the end of even a long long, intimidating looking word like Mangelhaftigkeit. It's that keit that tells me this is a feminine noun. It is going to be paired with D. So now we're going to look at the best noun endings that you should learn first because they are ironclad. They do not have exceptions. They apply to dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of German nouns, so you will get a lot of mileage out of them. The two most important neuter noun endings to learn are lein and hyen. They both serve the same function. They get tacked onto the ends of nouns and make them into diminutive versions. Okay, so Brüderchen is starting firstly with der Bruder, which because that means brother, this is a male person. This is part of our intuitive noun group, right? So it's going to be der Bruder because it's a male person. But when we put this hyen on the end of it, we're saying essentially little brother, and it becomes das Brüderchen because of the hyen. Schwester means sister. So it would be die Schwester, again, the intuitive noun group because this is a female person. But then when we put this diminutive addition onto the end, this line, now we're saying essentially little sister, and it becomes das Schwesterlein. We can use this same concept even with inanimate objects such as Teppich. Teppich is a masculine noun, right? Had this in our previous slide, and it means rug or carpet, but I can put this hyen onto the end of it and make it das Teppichchen, and it means little carpet or little rug. Okay, so lein and hyen get tacked onto the ends of German nouns, and then it changes the gender. Whatever that the noun had been before doesn't matter. When you put the hyen or the line onto it, it becomes a neuter noun. And because I know you're wondering this, in standard High German, using the hyen is going to be more common, and the line is more a feature of some German dialects, primarily from southern Germany. But in any case, they serve the same function, and whenever you come across them, you know that the gender of that noun will be neuter. The two most important masculine noun endings to learn are ich, as in Teppich, Pfirsich, Gänserich, and ling, as in Frühling, Lehrling, Fäustling. So keep in mind that unlike with the intuitive noun group where you have to know what the noun means in order to attribute the correct gender to it, you have to know, am I referring to a male, female, or young person or domesticated animal, and that's how you know, okay, I need a der, a die, or a das. With these noun endings, right, you know the gender of the noun even if you don't know what the noun means, okay? Just because of how it's spelled, you know the gender of it. And then you also see with the nouns that have particular endings that they won't have anything in common, right? The only thing that gives them their, say, masculine gender is the fact that they have a masculine ending. So Teppich means carpet or rug, Pfirsich means peach, and Gänserich is a male goose. Okay, Frühling is spring, the season of the year. Lehrling means apprentice, and Fäustling means mitten. Okay, so these nouns have nothing in common, but what makes them masculine is their ending. Lastly, I have 3 top feminine endings for you to learn. There are more feminine endings than there are masculine or neuter, and the bulk of them are ironclad and apply to lots and lots of German nouns. But the 3 that you should start with are heit, and keit. So we have die Wohnung, die Zeitung, die Erklärung, die Gesundheit, die Entschlossenheit, die Mangelhaftigkeit, die Fähigkeit. Again, these nouns have nothing in common with each other. They're feminine just because of how they're spelled, and there's also nothing about these nouns that makes them girly and therefore feminine nouns, right? That's not how it works with anything except that intuitive noun group. So with this information, you can now now leverage your advantage as an adult learner of German to correctly identify the gender of German nouns based on whether they belong to a noun group or they have a particular noun ending. But we still have this final step of you have to actually internalize this information, make it second nature. And how do we go about that? My top tips for you are here. It actually pays to learn like a child. We need to make lots of connections in our brains because our brains don't like random. Connections help us remember information. So my top tips for you are to, 1, use your senses to remember the gender of German nouns. You can color code like you've seen me do throughout this video. I use red for masculine, blue for feminine, green for neuter. You can use whatever colors you want, but write with these colors. Think in these colors. Use this visual of colors to help your brain remember the gender of these German nouns. Then you can also just use your imagination in general, and I think that's really powerful, right? You have to think in pictures you do not want to translate, okay? Another thing you can do to use your senses wherever applicable is to actually go and touch a teppich or a chair or a table or a window or a wall or the floor or whatever, and say the name of that noun while you're physically interacting with it in some way. And that additional connection, again, will make that information stickier in your mind. Final recommendation is I really like using what I call sentence drills, where I come up with a really basic, a short, simple formula, and I practice the target word over and over again while I make some other slight change. So for example, with teppich, carpet or rug, right, I can go through and have all of these short drills of der Teppich ist rot, der Teppich ist klein, der Teppich ist groß, der Teppich ist alt, der Teppich ist neu. And all I'm doing is I'm changing the adjective that I'm using to describe the carpet, but I'm saying over and over again in context. That's so important. Der Teppich, der Teppich, der Teppich. Okay, so I'm not translating. I'm not saying der Teppich, carpet, der Teppich, carpet, der Teppich, carpet. No, I'm putting it in a context. I'm using a complete sentence, right? So other vocabulary, grammar, and that's how children learn, right? It's in context, and that's powerful here for you too. If you find here at the end of this video that you need more practice with German grammar, then I encourage you to click on the link below and register for my free course, Unlocking German Grammar, and learn some other very foundational German grammar concepts with me. And this video course involves lots of practice. You have worksheets that you print off and you're working on them all throughout the course. And again, it will give you the information that you need to see the principles and patterns, the structures of German that you can understand as an adult, and if you do, will supercharge your learning so that you can learn German faster, more efficiently, more effectively than children learn their native languages. So don't hold back. Click on that link, register for free, and get started today.